Hello and welcome to another Blues Focus match preview where this time around we are facing Wycombe Wanderers at home in a 12:30 kickoff in first versus second in a game where surely if we are to win this game then we will probably go on to be champions of League One. And it very much parallels Liverpool's situation, doesn't it, in the Premier League, where everyone kind of says it's a foregone conclusion that Liverpool are going to win that league. And I think with a win on Saturday, moving 12 points clear of the top of League One, I think we can say that Blues are going to be winning League One this season. I've been a bit trepidatious about Birmingham's predictions. I mean, in the last match preview, I predicted a 2-2 draw actually between Birmingham and Leyton Orient. And in that game, obviously, Jack Curry got the red card after around 15 minutes due to that lunging challenge on Tomoki Iwata. Thankfully, Iwata's fine. And I think that red card decision has kind of divided some opinions, hasn't it? With some people saying that if it was given against us, then we'd be very angry with things. And I definitely agree with that. But I think looking at the bigger picture, Chris Davies said it himself that, in the Premier League, he's seen that go to VAR and it be given as a red card. So I'd have to say that, it was a red card and we went on to pretty much dominate the game because Leyton Orient took off a lot of their forward-thinking players, really shut up shop in terms of putting many men behind the ball. And thankfully, we managed to break them down in the second half after hitting the post and the bar with Taylor Gardner-Hickman scoring the first goal through a tap in and Ethan Laird scoring the second goal in what was for me a man of the match performance, with Ethan Laird really coming on leaps and bounds from last season. I think that Ethan Laird's been phenomenal in a blue shirt this season, and hopefully this form can continue because we are currently 17 league games unbeaten and it was our 32nd win of the season against Leyton Orient. So we're in some fantastic form at the moment, and Wycombe Wanderers up next with Mike Dodds as their manager, someone that used to be in the Birmingham City Academy, responsible really for the growth of the Bellingham brothers, Jack Butland, Nathan Redmond, Damari Gray. He really did bridge that gap between the academy and the first team, and it's good to see him now, in a mainstay team in terms of Wycombe Wanderers, being the main man in charge there. But hopefully he loses his game on Saturday because it'd be a massive 3 points for us if we were to win this game. And Wycombe Wanderers have already sold out their away end and it's going to be a big crowd at St Andrews. So yeah, very much looking forward to this fixture. And as for my prediction, I'm actually going to go for 3-0 victory for Birmingham. I know it sounds quite braggadocious in terms of, scoring lots of goals and keeping another clean sheet. But, I went for a conservative 2-2 draw against Leyton Orient. We ended up winning that game pretty comfortably, albeit with Leyton Orient going down to 10 men. But I'm going to put us to win this game. And I'd love to see us, score a few goals. And I feel like it would really kind of feed into that party atmosphere. Hopefully I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. Obviously watching that Virtue Trophy semi-final last night where Wrexham fell to Peterborough, and so we are playing Peterborough United at Wembley in April. So I'm looking forward to that one, looking forward to this fixture, and we're kind of switching up the match preview format this time around because we are going to speak to Phil Catchpole, who works through the Wycombe Wanderers YouTube channels and social media sites. He also does the commentary for their I Follow stuff. So yeah, we spoke to Phil actually on a live conversation, a bit like our formats from last season. So let's see what Phil has to say regarding, Wycombe team news, their story this season, and whether they're going to get to the championship or not, and also score prediction on Phil's side. Obviously, my stuff takes into consideration the fact that Keshi Anderson and Jay Stansfield return, but whether they return or not, it's a mystery. But here's what Phil has to say about the Wycombe side of things when I spoke to him earlier. And here we are, joined by Phil Catchpole, the Wycombe Wanderers commentator ahead of this game. You must be really looking forward to it, Phil, because obviously both teams are in such good form and a big game in terms of who goes up from League One.
Yeah, I think, even when you think about this game before you apply the league table to it, it was always going to be a big game for Wycombe. You guys, obviously, a huge club coming down from the Championship. And I remember having a great night at St Andrews when we were in the Championship, but there were no fans there that night. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing St Andrews for the first time with the fans in. And then when you apply the league table to it, obviously you guys are going to be well up for it. The away end sold out as well, and it's got some real flavour about it, this game, top of League One. And also, we had a really good game with you guys all the way back at the start of the season, our first home game. And so it's all the ingredients are there for this to be a fantastic game. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
and there's really been some like phenomenal atmospheres at St Andrews this season. I feel like this game's really going to be up there with the fact that you've mentioned already that Wycombe have sold out their away end, and there's going to be a big home crowd as well. So, in terms of what you think is going to happen in the game, compare it to August from now. What's kind of changed in the Wycombe setup from August to now?
Well, we got you. It was second league game of the season, wasn't it? We'd lost at Wrexham on the opening day, 3-2, and then lost to you guys 3-2 for the first home game. And to be honest with you, even before a ball had been kicked, I think that the overall narrative of League One was about you guys and Wrexham and maybe like the Huddersfields and the Charltons and people who sort of the bigger historical clubs. So then we didn't lose again until the 29th of December. The window was still open, obviously, when we played you guys. We added as well. We added Caleb Taylor and Aaron Morley on loan, and they had a really huge impact for us, and were a large part of that run. Richard Kone sort of picked up where he left off at the end of last season. We all knew what a player he was. It didn't seem the rest of the football world had sort of cottoned onto him fully, but he's really announced himself as a strong first team player for us. And yeah, so I think the loanees losing Aaron Morley in December, in January when the window opened, when he went back to Bolton, and then was a big loss for us. But equally, we've had a fantastic window in January as well. So Caleb Taylor came back, having initially gone back to West Brom for a few games. He's now back with us. Xavier Simons has joined on loan from Hull to sit in that midfield role that Aaron Morley had played as well. And we've, signed some experienced players, like Adam Reach, excellent championship experience too, and added sort of more depth and competition around the squad. Will Norris in goal, championship winning keeper last year at this level. So that there's some real know-how and depth in the squad as well. That we had a decent squad when we faced you in August, and the depth has really added since then. And equally, then the form since then as well has been phenomenal. As it has been for you guys as well. So, but yeah, I'm not sure many people leaving the away end back in August would have thought where we'd both be at this stage of the season. But that's why football's so great, isn't it?
Exactly. And I mean, you speak about Wycombe there and like the transfers that you've made. I mean, when I look at the winter transfer window, there has been a lot of business, including going Scandinavian with some of your business as well, signing, I have to look at my notes here to make sure I pronounce the names right, but Westergaard and Hagelshaw, is that correct?
Hargleshire, yeah. So a pretty
Hagelshaw,
good
yeah.
effort. That's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, I've had to start learning some new pronunciations as well for the commentaries, which is good. Yeah, I think we've seen it across the divisions as well. Scandinavia, I think is very in line with the intensity and pace of English football, so it's not a surprise there. But yeah, it's really added into the depth as well. The season timings are very different in Norway and Denmark because of the weather and stuff. So they're sort of joining us almost in at the start of their pre-season. But yeah, real strength and depth in the squad again, defensively and in midfield for us too. So, but yeah, it's a tough team to get into as well now because, when you have strength and depth, if everyone's fit and firing, then it's big choices for the coach to make. So, but that's the beauty of it. So we all know that injuries and suspensions happen. So when they do come, then we're equipped.
Yeah, I think it's the same with Birmingham as well in terms of trying to have those like for like replacements in a lot of positions, which we struggled with in previous seasons. But now we feel like we've really found our flow in terms of the results not dropping off too much depending on who's playing and who's not playing. But looking at the Wycombe team, I think there has been real ambition, isn't there, within those transfer windows, not only to purchase the players that you've had, but also to reject bids. So obviously the saga that went on with Richard Kone rejecting the bids for him. And now, as you said on your side of things, it looks like it's going to be a two-horse race for the Golden Boot between Kone and Stansford. So from what you've seen, is Kone going to beat Stansford to the Golden Boot?
Yeah, I'd love him to. I mean, obviously, in an ideal world, they're both fit and firing between now and the end of the season, and it's an incredibly exciting race. Rich has been out injured of late. He came back off the bench for the home game against Wigan, and Wycombe fans were delighted to see him. That's the impact he's had for us. But we're also aware that Jay Stansfield had quite a nasty looking injury at the time, but is rumoured to be back in amongst it as well. But it's going to be tight, isn't it? Obviously, the difference in the narrative is big. There was big money on Stansfield. Richard Kone's come from step 9, and again, this just adds to the narrative of the whole thing. And obviously, Wycombe fans are rooting for Richard. A lot of them have backed him at very high odds, and we're talking sort of 250 to 1 in some cases. A lot have got him at 150 to 1. So if Richard is to do it, I think there's going to be a lot of very nice holidays that will be booked in the summer for the rest of the year for some Wycombe fans. But look, story and everything aside, everybody loves a striker that's finding the net on a regular basis. And he could be our first sort of 20 plus goal a season person that we've had for quite some time. I think it goes back to Stuart Bevan when well, a few years ago. Akinfenwa got close a couple of times, but look, everyone loves a striker in form, and Richard has just been brilliant for us as well. And the competition up top is really intense, and I think that's a large part of it, because if you get the starting berth, then you've got to make a difference, and if you come off the bench, then you've really got to make your impact to make sure you're starting the next one. And we talked about the squad depth, and it's no different at the top end of the pitch for us too.
Wycombe have got some great individuals, but I think a lot of it comes down to a team effort, doesn't it? And in terms of this season, obviously the manager that's been managing you for most of the season, Matt Bloomfield's now at Luton, and then when Sam Grace took caretaker charge, there wasn't that much of a drop off in form. So in terms of the situation that Mike Dodds comes into, would you say that the manager's been more important to the progression of Wycombe this season, or the players in the dressing room?
Well, I think it's all linked in, isn't it? I think the culture and the atmosphere is set by the top, and you can go all the way back to Gareth Ainsworth, and the culture and Wycombe has always been really strong. Gareth didn't really have much to play with in terms of finances and other bits and pieces, and it was kind of him, and that was it, and it was his ethos throughout the club. Things are starting to develop and evolve now, but that togetherness has stayed, which I think is vital. And we've got senior players like Jack Grimmer, Gareth McCleary, Sam Vokes are still around to kind of carry that through, which is vital, I think, when you get younger and new faces coming in, and it also makes them settle quicker. So yeah, I mean, that comes from the management. Matt Bloomfield carried that on, and from what we've seen from Mike Dodds as head coach as well, he's another one that really sets the culture too. And you guys will know that as well from his time at Birmingham City. I think it's just been a continuation of that, and then adding everything else on top as the resources have come in, and we've added different layers. We've got an academy starting here at Wycombe Wanderers as well, which is hugely exciting. Obviously, doesn't impact the first team immediately, but that's the progression that we're looking at. But again, that culture will come from the first team and be the example for there. So it's hugely important. The word culture here at Wycombe always has been, and it's been fascinating to see that evolve of recent times.
And you say about Mike Dodds there, the new Wycombe Wanderers head coach. And I feel like he's someone that is kind of linked to the fact that you said there that you've got your own academy now starting, because he was so important to Birmingham's academy, kind of being that barrier or that bridge, sorry, between the academy and the first team, because he helped to nurture talents such as the Bellingham brothers, Nathan Redmond, Damari Gray, Jack Butland, and they've all spoke very highly of Mike Dodds. So from what you've kind of got from him so far, being involved in the club, what kind of message have you got from Mike Dodds so far, an impression as well?
I think with Mike, it's the player development side of it is the strong suit, and he sees that 37-year-old Gareth McCleary, he sees the development of him just as important. That players are always learning, and he's got the track record of working with the younger players. We've got young faces in the building too, but we've got a mixture of new faces and fresh faces and older experienced pros, and it's about developing all of them and developing that sort of style as well. And he's been very keen to make that point, and the early signs of that look very strong indeed. I think with the academy coming into it as well, it's hugely exciting for the fan base. Our academy shut in 2012 for financial reasons, and we're looking forward to seeing the first products of that come through. And then sort of break into the first team, and then, as I said, it will be the first team environment that have set the standard that they then work to and come through. But that's a long-term project. It's exciting. The immediate focus for us is this promotion campaign, and Mike's the hand on the tiller for this. We saw when he left Sunderland, Luke O'Nien, former Wycombe player and Sunderland captain, was very effusive in how he spoke about Mike and how he developed him as a player and as a person. And I think that was an important point too. We're seeing the impacts of that here now early on in his tenure at Wycombe.
And sort of linking on from our chat yesterday, because I've done a chat with you for your guys' social medias, and one of the topics that came up was Ryan Alsop. And after I spoke to you, I actually looked into how many appearances he made for Wycombe, and it's the most he's made for any club, because, as I said, he's played for around 14, 15 clubs in his career, and he played 129 games at Wycombe Wanderers. So in terms of what you got from Ryan Alsop when he was a Wycombe player, what did you see in him that made him kind of that standout goalkeeper for you in the seasons that he was playing for Wycombe? Wycombe? Because for us this season, it's been such a calm, reassuring presence at the back, and being a Blues fan as well, it's made it even better. So from a Wycombe perspective, how did Ryan Allsop fare for you guys when he was at Wycombe?
Look, I mean, Ryan he's written into our history because he played at Wembley when we beat Oxford United in the League One playoff final for us to get to the Championship for the first time in our history. So whatever happens on Saturday and in the future, whatever, Ryan Allsop is in Wycombe folklore, and was part of our most to date part of our most famous ever team, I would say, in terms of doing that. He was a fantastic shot stopper, and we had him on loan initially for a spell, and then he came back permanently. And he was a big part of that championship team initially that got us up there, and then in those initial runs as well. And it was really hard going for us when we first went up because of we went up during COVID. I think the playoff final was to 13th of January. I should know, the 13th of July. It should be tattooed on my arm somewhere that date. And so the pre-season was really tight. So we started off really slowly. I think we scored for the first 5 games. We didn't get a point for the first 8 games. So the goalkeeping position was under a great deal of scrutiny because we were backs against the wall for the first 2 months of that campaign. But he was a great keeper for us, a great character, and it's brilliant to see him in his natural home at Birmingham, where he's a fan, and he's really sort of kicking on. We followed his career closely, and it's great to see him because I think we spoke back in August, didn't we? And it was a bit of a two-way shootout for the goalkeeping position, and he's made it his own very quickly and kept on to the gloves. And I'm not surprised, to be honest. I think he's a great keeper for the level, and I think he can play in the Championship as well. So yeah. But looking forward to seeing him on Saturday, but hopefully seeing him picking the ball out of the net a few times on Saturday.
Well, I suppose the thing is, like as you said, that game in August where Ryan Allsop wasn't really the first choice keeper at the start of the season because it was Bailey Peacock-Farrell that was in goal then. But in terms of the two teams and getting to the Championship, obviously for Birmingham, it's kind of the first thing on our checklist for this season is just get out of League One, get into the Championship. Whereas for Wycombe, it may or not been like the first priority. So for you guys now in the position that you're in, how important would it be to reach the Championship for next season? Because we spoke about turning down bids for Kone, the money that you spent on the Scandinavian players. So it's really now building up towards the Championship, and you would say it is kind of the first goal now for Wycombe in terms of now to the end of the season to try and reach the Championship with fans in the stadium too.
Yeah, I mean that's the big bugbear for the fans is that we've done it once in our 130 odd year history, and we were unable to play in front of fans in that period, which is hugely frustrating for the fans, hugely frustrating for the club, because we missed out by 1 point on staying up, which is a much talked about topic elsewhere in the Midlands, and it. The fans, would we have got an extra point had we got fans in Adams Park that season? You would like to think we would have done, but you never know. And so, yeah, the frustration is there for the fans, and they want to be back. And because of the start we've made to this season, and when you get to March, as it will be on Saturday when we kick off, to be in the top two, that isn't a fluke, and that is there to be sort of hopefully converted into promotion. The fans would have had a different idea, I think, of all the other clubs in our division of where Wycombe would be at this point. If you asked them last summer, I don't think many people outside of South Bucks were expecting Wycombe to be up there. And I think a lot of our own fans probably weren't expecting it either. But once you're in this position in March, then yeah, of course, all eyes are on that, staying in those top two places, and then getting over the line into the Championship. It's a great opportunity, but then equally, there's some big old teams making up some ground behind us as well, and their fans demanding that they need to be in the second level of English football as well. But look, I think it's great for football that we're up there because obviously Wrexham have got on one hand they've got the glamour, the headline grabbers in their owners and the Netflix documentary. You guys have kind of got your history and the money that's coming in and the investment that's being made across all levels of the club. And to have someone like Wycombe in between the two, which probably wasn't in most scriptwriters' thoughts, is good for the game.
Very much like Birmingham Wrexham was in the script for a lot of people for that Virtue Trophy final, but it's now Peterborough United through to the cup final for that game. So yeah, just goes to show how unpredictable football can be. And in terms of the game on Saturday, just final thing from you, Phil, score prediction, and for the end of the season, are we going to see Wycombe Wanderers in the Championship next season?
Wow, big questions. Well, obviously, I'm not going to predict Wycombe to lose. I think we're going to enjoy Saturday because we've had, because of where we are on the table now, we're having a lot of teams come up now and putting the low block in and sitting in, and we're having to sort of adapt to that. And I don't think Birmingham are going to do that to us on Saturday at home, especially. So I'm looking forward to being able to see us sort of in our, hopefully our earlier season swashbuckling attacking form. I'll be amazed if we don't score. And I think it's going to be a really good game. And I'm going to predict a Wycombe Wanderers 2-1 victory. And
Oh,
as for the rest of the
and what about
season,
getting to the championship?
well, yeah, I'd love to see it. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think, of course, I'm going to back us to do it. I think we've got a great squad. I think we've got a very astute head coach and coaching team. All the ingredients are there, and I'm an unusual sort of fan and person in that I'm an optimist. So of course, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting us promoted as well.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time, Phil. And just quickly as well, like what things have you got coming out on your social media this weekend covering the game?
So we've got our pre-match show, which you're an excellent part of. That's coming out later today. We speak on a Thursday. And then we've got full match coverage as well from St Andrews. I know it's on TV too, but we've got the club channels as well. We have quite a large overseas following who can get involved in that, as well as the audio commentary. And then after the game on the Monday, we'll have the podcast that will go through what happened on the day and as well. So it's all always busy at Wycombe, getting covering everything that's going on. And obviously, it's always easier when we win when you're doing it from our point of view. So hopefully, we have a lovely weekend to look forward to.
Yeah, we can certainly appreciate that it's much easier doing these videos when you're winning because last season it certainly wasn't for Blues fans. So yeah, it's made a very welcome change that we're in a situation like this. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Phil. And on our end, we'll have a vlog coming out that Tommy's filming as well as the match reaction. Hopefully, a podcast to come on Sunday as well. So stay tuned for that, and most importantly, keep right on.